A tropical storm is likely to develop in the Caribbean in the next few days, and flooding rains continue for other portions of our area. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. It's great to see you on a Friday. Hope you are doing well. Coming up in this video, we'll talk about our two different areas of potential tropical development. We'll look at the high likelihood here in the Western Caribbean in the coming days, exactly how this could develop, where it will move, and how intense it could get. We'll look at some of the flooding rains we've been seeing out of this system, and I've got your island by island rainfall forecast over the weekend as well. Love the Meteo Mundo weather community. As we get started, as I zoom into your area, let me know in the comment section below you live there what the weather has been like. We'll start off with our now high likelihood of development in the Western Caribbean. That's the area in red that you see from the National Hurricane Center. Now a 70% chance or even higher. That's what that red area indicates. I think we're at the home stretch finally, friends, of seeing this beginning to actually begin to wrap up here in the Southwest Caribbean. This is what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery. I'm going to take off that red area. Just seeing a little bit more circulation beginning to develop. Better showers and thunderstorms on the western side, so a little bit of drier air here, but you can see the low-level clouds are beginning to sink back into this broad span. So give it a couple more days, and more than likely we're going to get ourselves a depression or even a tropical storm. And forecast is for this to become at least a tropical storm as it generally works its way up towards the north. Now it's still going to be slow moving over the weekend, but just beginning to wrap up and have a true low-level center of circulation here. So again, that's why we have this red area ultimately drifting north or somewhat north into the west. And I'm going to break down all the newest model data coming up on this in just a bit. You can see though on the western side, we're starting to get some showers and storms there, some pretty decent wind gusts as well on the western periphery. Let's talk about what's happening with this area in yellow, because this is still going to be a big time potential flood maker for portions of Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and the northern side of the Leeward Islands as well. It's still just a 10% chance that this will actually wrap up into something tropical. But friends, look at the surge of moisture coming in out of the south with this broad spin. It's kind of elongated east to west right now. And again, it's just not moving. So we have several flood watches to talk about. First flood watch that's in effect right now is going to be for the U.S., Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. That goes through tomorrow morning. There was a flash flood warning for the British Virgin Islands, but it's now a flash flood watch. Okay, but still, heavy rain is likely. Had some reports from St. Croix of 6 inches of rain, but doing okay as far as the rainfall totals go there, as far as flooding goes. But other areas have not been so lucky. When I put on the flash flood warnings in Puerto Rico, it's still the eastern side of the island falling under these flash flood warnings, from the Yabacoa area to Humacao on over towards Fajardo, where we've had at least 6 inches of rain or more in some areas, and the potential for flash flooding to continue the remainder of this Friday. Portions of the northern side of the island as well, Uti Alto towards Arecibo, have also from time to time fallen under flash flood warnings on this Friday afternoon. Heavy rainfall and very gusty winds continue right along the Vieques, Culebra areas, then on over towards St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John, and portions of the British Virgin Islands. The winds have not been as strong in these areas. It's been a lot gustier on the eastern sides of Puerto Rico, but you get the idea that we're running into some squally weather here with some very heavy rain and flooding concerns. Live radar out of Puerto Rico right now. Luckily, the western side of the island's drying up a little bit. That's good news. And the heaviest rain has always been on the eastern side of Puerto Rico with this, but more waves of very heavy rain coming off the coastline towards Vieques and Culebra, and this is all kind of trying to stream east-northeast. So some of this could run back over St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, and then the British Virgin Islands the remainder of this late Friday into the evening hours and even overnight. Flooding rains could continue in these spots well into Saturday. So even though the flash flood watches technically are going to end in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands tomorrow morning, it doesn't mean that additional flooding rains aren't possible throughout the day on Saturday. Have some video to show you. Kevin, again, the Espiritu Santo River, the Holy Spirit River there near Rio Grande, Puerto Rico. You can just see the elevation coming down, right? And look at the rush of water. It says it's not normally this high, and more than likely the river doesn't flow that rapidly. But that's the situation here that you get into. Some of the higher elevation, the water coming down rapidly into the low-lying areas, floods things quickly. This could also lead to landslides and mudslides. Appreciate Kevin sending in that video. You get a great idea of some of the problems that they're seeing there. And again, additional mudslides, landslides, flash flooding of all different varieties are possible at least over the next 24 hours as this broad spin just really doesn't move anywhere. That's going to be the issue. We've also seen some heavy rain over portions of the Leeward Islands and Guilip under a flash flood watch as well. Hopefully that will be allowed to expire. But I mentioned in yesterday's video, kind of the far northern Leeward Islands could get a lot more rain than areas just off to the south. So in Guilip, St. Martin, which have had some gusty winds as well, St. Bart's. Now we've also just had good slugs of moisture coming back into the northern side of the Lesser Antilles in general. Barbuda, Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Guadeloupe from time to time. We've had heavy rain, and we've also had a fair amount of lightning. Got a video from the Real King from St. Kitts and Nevis. Look at that lightning there coming in the dark. Just some real good convection there. Look at that lightning. That is significant. And from time to time, some of the islands have seen that roll their way through as well. It hasn't been enough in a short amount of time to cause a lot of flooding here, but there have been some good heavy downpours to go along with the lightning. In general, the farther south that you go in the island chain, the weather has been a little bit quieter. Still from time to time, we've had pockets of heavy rain. Barbados has had some heavier showers as well. And again, you can see that the low-level winds here are actually still out of the east, and then these winds are kind of out of the west. We haven't had a lot of big confluence of winds here yet, but it's produced some scattered showers all the way back down towards Trinidad and Tobago for today. And again, some of that has been heavy from time to time. Real thick cloud coverage here towards Nueva Esparta and areas off towards the west. And we cross our fingers that we get some rain in the ABC Islands for today as well. You can see some of the cloud coverage rolling across Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. Certainly just a lot of tropical moisture and very unstable air. That's the situation. We just have a lot of unstable conditions, a lot of lift in the atmosphere to promote a good amount of rain in the eastern side of the Caribbean here for the next several days. And again, the slow movement of this area in yellow will continue to provide the opportunity for very heavy rainfall for Puerto Rico and eventually into the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and portions of the Turks and the Caicos. So while again, I'm not extremely concerned about this wrapping up into a depression or a storm, although it's still plausible, I am still very much concerned about some of the heavier rain. We still have some flood alerts, if you will, on the far northeast coastline of the Dominican Republic from Puerto Plata towards the Samana area. So very heavy rain along the immediate coast. You can see we've had some gusty winds from time to time near Santiago de los Caballeros, and then scattered showers and storms moving back into Santo Domingo, La Romana, over towards Punta Cana. Been a little bit quieter Punta Cana for today, and this will spiral back into portions of Haiti as well. Slightly drier air on the western side of this at this point in time. You get east of the center, and we've actually had some wind gusts today in this offshore buoy way out here in the Atlantic that pushed 45 miles an hour. Now, kind of wedged in between, we've had our friends in Jamaica. We've had a few scattered showers here. Still really dark clouds, still a ton of moisture in the atmosphere. So you're just going to see those dark, low clouds continue to roll across the island with some spotty showers there. Charline from Westmoreland Parish there on the western side of the island, again, brings us what has been a very typical view in Jamaica over the latter half of this weekend. And this is just dark clouds. Some of that won't contain any rain. Others will bring you some good downpours. There'll be some spin in the atmosphere as well, and you'll see that. So opportunity for some scattered rain there. Same thing for our friends in the Cayman Islands. It hasn't been extremely prominent, but the opportunity has been there. Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua, especially down towards Costa Rica and Panama, showers and storms with pockets of heavier rain. The closer you live to the Caribbean coastline, generally, the better opportunity you're going to have for some of that moisture to move in. But you could just see that beginning to kind of gurgle up here on the home stretch of this area trying to develop, and scattered showers and some heavier downpours will continue on the northern sides of Honduras, portions of Belize on over towards Quintana Roo as well. Still some breezy conditions here from time to time. Our friends in the Bahamas have been enjoying a quieter day, but again, from time to time, we've had some wind gusts. I promise you that the satellite is rolling here. Switch over to the visible. You can see some of the easterlies. The gale watch has been allowed to expire, but again, very fresh conditions here. And for our friends in the southwest side of the Bahamas, again, the opportunity for more rain, and the Turks and the Caicos included, as this system moves its way off towards the west. We're going to get to the forecast now, friends, as we do so. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to Meteo Mundo. You want these daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas and your tropical updates. Sharing this with your family and friends. Appreciate all of our members here at Meteo Mundo. That's the join button. It's just 99 cents a month. The super thanks is open, and you can find other ways to support the channel in the description below as well. Now we're going to deep dive into our two tropical areas. We'll look at all the models, how this will play out, then get into your island by island forecast. So we got to talk about, first of all, this area in red. Again, expecting this to become a tropical depression into a tropical storm in the next 48 to 72 hours. I think the biggest question that we still have is, what is going to be the ultimate movement? Is this going to move up like this and then not do that, Rusty, but turn this way? Or is it going to take more of a northerly turn and then bend back here? I am still getting used to this telestrator, and I apologize for that. Let me clear that, and let me see if I can do this one more time. I think I have to just be a little bit broader out. So here's the question. Is it going to do this, or is it going to do this? And even those aren't extremely fantastic. I will get better at that, I promise. So let's finish this up. Let's clear it out, and let's deep dive into this. The biggest situation and impacts will be the farther north and slightly northeast as it goes, the more direct impacts for these areas. Eastern Cuba, but especially Jamaica and even Haiti. Remember that the storm is going to be stronger on the eastern envelope, right? On the east side of the storm. Heaviest rain and gusty winds. And this development region is far enough east, and the models in some of them are far enough east where we have more direct impacts for Jamaica and even Haiti. I think the Cayman Islands are going to get direct impacts regardless, but we'll have to see which side of the storm they get. Cuba, and then portions of Central America and the Yucatan. Those are the areas that I'm most concerned about the development of this over the next several days. So let's break it down. We'll start off with a GFS model. This has been an easterly model for the most part, right? It's been a model that's been a little bit farther off towards the east. It's come back slightly farther west, and I promise you there's actually a little bit more model support from other models to basically say that this is a plausible scenario here to get this to move up close to Jamaica and then hug the southern coastline of Cuba. It's not as much of an outlier now as what you might think. So let's break down what the GFS is showing us here. We'll start off with basically the remainder of tonight into tomorrow morning. Still a very sloppy system, not expecting it to organize on our Saturday. I think at the very earliest, it's Sunday that we start to see that center develop, but probably not until Monday. Then more than likely, we're going to get ourselves a tropical storm. This is Monday the 4th. Now again, on the GFS model, this is very close and kind of in between Jamaica and Haiti. Let me take off that red area again, just a little bit easier to see. As we go through Monday, we'll start to see it swing back towards the west. If you remember the last couple of days, I've shown you there's pretty strong easterlies, and we have this other disturbance here, okay? And those two are going to butt heads, and this thing is not going to be coming too far north and east because of this elongated area here. That disturbance is also working its way west as well. And yes, there is the opportunity where the east side of what more than likely is going to become Patty begins to interact with the west and southwest side of this system, but no real big interaction. I don't expect one to absorb the other or anything like that, but there could be an enhanced moisture field on this northeast side. But then you start to see that we skirt the southern coastline of Cuba, actually move inland over Cuba on the GFS model on Saturday, and then emerge back over the Straits of Florida, and in a very somewhat sloppy fashion, we have a system moving into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, okay? And I gotta tell you, from here, the models diverge so significantly in the Gulf. The GFS deterministic, which you're looking at, almost bends it back south and west. All right, we have a little bit drier air in the northern Gulf of Mexico at that time, and it might try and stall the system or at least push it back farther west than anything. But again, back here to the GFS deterministic, this would bring more impacts to Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, maybe the Cayman Islands, and then potentially the eastern side of the Gulf Coast. All right, we would see some rain out of this for the Turks, the Caicos, and portions of the Bahamas as well, though a small enough system where we wouldn't have direct impacts. Again, timing of this would be development probably late Sunday into Monday, main impacts Monday, Tuesday, and then into Wednesday. If we look at the wind field associated with the GFS deterministic model, let's look at that. Loop that up. It'll take just a second to fully pop on here. Again, what you're going to see out of this, pop on, there we go, is a storm that does rapidly intensify right in between Jamaica and Haiti. All right, it's going to take a little bit of time here. Again, this is early on Monday, and we're just starting to see it wrap up. But if we look at this, back to here again, wee hours of Monday morning, we do have a tropical storm, okay? So on the GFS, we would probably get a named storm either late Sunday or very early on Monday. Again, we have some winds that support tropical storm strength. Would we have a true low level of circulation? It's possible. So more than likely on the GFS, this would be a tropical storm on Sunday, and then you can see it quickly intensify, right? And here, it's such a small storm that it's not really impacting or being impacted by a lot of Haiti and the Dominican Republic and the higher terrain of Hispaniola in general. And we actually do have this very small hurricane, all right? These are sustained winds at the surface on the GFS model. So the latest run of the GFS does have a very small hurricane close to Jamaica and Haiti as we get into Monday, beginning to turn west. You can see it moving over the eastern sides of Cuba, and this would be very dependent. Does the center of circulation stay offshore? Does it move inland? If it does, obviously it would weaken somewhat there, and then slipping over the western sides of Cuba and back out into the open waters of the southeast Gulf of Mexico. This would be on Wednesday the 6th, and as I said, almost kind of diving back south and west at the end of the run. All right? So that's what it looks like on the GFS deterministic. Again, more impacts. Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, potentially the Cayman Islands, potentially some wind for the Bahamas and portions of the Florida Keys. All right. If we look at the ensemble members of the GFS, we just looked at the deterministic. You again are going to see a little bit more tightly clustered here, closer to Jamaica, some of those even south and west of Jamaica, rather than making that turn close to Cuba. But by late Tuesday night, we're in fairly tight agreement now on the GFS, anywhere from Jamaica to the Cayman Islands and the western sides of Cuba, okay? Not as many along the immediate coastline of the Yucatan or portions of Central America, none as far east now as the Dominican Republic, and you also don't really see any development out of this system as well, the yellow area with the 10% chance. This is the European ensemble members, okay? Fairly close to the GFS, but they are slightly farther south and west. First of all, look at how many members develop this system, okay? And some of those make this a hurricane by early next week as well. Now on the European ensemble members, you have a few close to Haiti and the southeast sides of Cuba, but the majority of them much closer to Jamaica or south and west of Jamaica, and then heading a little bit quicker to the west. More impacts for the Cayman Islands with this, all right? More impacts for the Yucatan and Central America and the western sides of Cuba, because it stays in the open waters rather than brushing along the Cuban peninsula, which could weaken the storm. But the European model has this in the open waters the entire time, and most of the ensembles have it a little bit stronger than what the GFS has. It does have a few signals for development with our 10% chance through the Turks, the Caicos, but very weak signals here. It's a possibility that that would become a tropical storm on the European model, but not a big chance. You can clearly see there's only a few ensembles here with development, whereas a vast majority develop our Southwest Caribbean disturbance into a tropical storm or even a hurricane. This is the ICON model. I told you the GFS had some support today, and if you look at the track of the ICON model, doesn't that look just like the GFS that I just showed you? Very, very similar tracks, weaker. The ICON has really done a big flip. Yesterday, the ICON was much closer to where the European had it and was the strongest model, had this thing as a hurricane. This one is much weaker and would keep it as a tropical storm. And obviously the land interaction would be one of the reasons why it's weaker. I promise you, if this storm moves here, it's going to be stronger than if it moves up here. First of all, a lot more land interaction, but it also could be interacting with whatever this little disturbance is going to do. And there could be a little bit of interruption in the wind fields on the northeast side. Okay, so while we'll have more impacts for these areas, ultimately, I don't think the storm would be stronger the farther north that it goes. So overall, again, we still don't even have an invest, but I think that is going to come in short order. Then we'll get our tropical models and our spaghetti plots to run. All right, so I think there's going to be a lot more information to be able to delve into here starting Saturday. But the areas that I believe should be on alert for this system is Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Cuba, okay? You need to pay attention if you live in Central America, the Yucatan, and then Haiti and the Turks, the Caicos, all right? But looking at all the models together, I think these are the three areas with the highest chance for direct impacts. If the GFS holds true, Haiti would see some direct impacts, so that's why they need to pay attention, and the Turks, the Caicos, could also see some direct impacts if the GFS solution comes true. If the European solution holds, Central America and the Yucatan could see some direct impacts because that storm would be farther off towards the west. But Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Cuba seem to be more in the zone for all the different model solutions that I just showed. Again, the next name on the list is Patty. After that, we have Raphael. Could we have two named storms out of those? It's plausible, but more than likely the one in the Caribbean is going to become Patty. If I go back over to the GFS model real quickly here, guys, and I loop this back up, something else I wanted to just show you guys real quick. Now, there is another invest area with a good chance to develop it here. Could this become Patty or Raphael first? It's possible, okay? It is possible. The other thing I want to show you guys is here. Again, very wet weather the next several days. But is it going to develop? Probably not. And if it does, it's weak. And where would it develop? Probably just north of the Dominican Republic and Haiti and over the Turks and the Caicos, okay? But more than likely, this is just some fresh wind and rain. That being said, if I zoom this out a little bit farther in time, you're going to see that we have another area to watch right here. Kind of the same track that ultimately ended up being Oscar, and the same disturbance that we're dealing with right now, slipping over the northern side of the Leeward Islands, the U.S. British Virgin Islands, and portions of Puerto Rico, and eventually the Dominican Republic as well. This is what the wind profile looks like on it. I'll let it loop up. But just to give you an idea that down the road in this same area, right, you've got the 10% disturbance moving here. This is our primary one, but down the road, watch this freshen up a little bit more right there, okay? So potentially by the end of next week and into the weekend after, so about 7-8 days from now, we might try and develop a little something in this part of the Western Atlantic as well. It's pretty active first part of November, no doubt about it. Back over to the rain real quick. We're gonna go to the island by island forecast. A couple of things I just want to point out. Again, heavy rainfall is likely to fall in the northern side of the Lesser Antilles at least through tomorrow. It's going to be scattered showers from places like Guadeloupe South, but still pockets of heavier rain and some downpours. Watch out for the swells as well. The best chance for more flooding rains will be Puerto Rico and then eventually into the Dominican Republic, Haiti, portions of the Turks and the Caicos, and Cuba, especially if the GFS holds true and this moves east and interacts with all of this moisture. The bottom line is you just get slammed with rain in between. okay? So we'll shift the heaviest rainfall potential west over the weekend. Still doesn't rain in Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, places like that, Saba, St. Eustatius, couldn't get some heavier downpours, but we're starting to pull that a little bit farther away. Winds will still be fresh over the Bahamas, although the rain will be scattered in the northwest Bahamas. But obviously, as this system pulls west, places in the southeast Bahamas and the central Bahamas will start to see better rain chances, and there will still be some fresh winds associated with that. And then obviously, the rain chances in the western Caribbean are going to be exceptionally high, but it is going to be dependent on what happens with the development here in the western Caribbean. I want to show you real quickly. First of all, I didn't want the computer to do that. That's okay. I want to show you guys real quickly, I'm going to have to load this back up in just a half second, the winds associated with this. So let me pull up the model and just take you out the next couple of days, because the winds are going to be fresh in a lot of areas, okay? These are your wind gusts. Anywhere that you see those yellows are going to be some winds of over 30 miles an hour. Notice again, this disturbance freshens up the winds all the way into the entire Bahamas. And then you see the GFS model pull the winds up here, there, right? If we take a look at that real quickly, just to give you guys an idea, again, on the GFS model, just like for my friends in Jamaica, and again, it's going to be so area dependent. It's such a small storm, right? It's kind of crazy, but you can see these wind gusts here. So we're going to have to really pay attention, because where this ultimately goes, it's going to be extremely significant, because if it stays a small storm, that means the wind impacts aren't going to be widespread, but wherever the center goes, the impacts are going to be great. And you get the idea from Freeport to Nassau, back towards the Acklins. These are wind gusts here into Sunday and Monday, right? Monday evening of nearly 40 miles an hour. So we'll see, how potential additional gale conditions could develop in the Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos over the next few days. So looking at the island by island rain chances, scattered showers for the northwest Bahamas, slightly better on Monday. Building rain chances central and southeast Bahamas. Turks and Caicos, very high rain chances. Heavy rains are likely. Same thing for Cuba. Cayman Islands, scattered, but we'll just see ultimately, again, the track of the disturbance in the Caribbean will ultimately determine your rain chances. Belize City will be scattered. Same thing for Cancun and Cozumel. Jamaica's rain chances at least 50%, but again, it's very dependent on where this system goes. Dominican Republic's rain chances are going to be exceptionally high. Watch out for the flooding rains there. And in Haiti, rain chances will remain fairly elevated in Puerto Rico, but should begin to drop beginning Monday into Tuesday. Same thing for our friends in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. We're going to basically be dry in Bermuda. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, high rain chances over the weekend, falling a bit on Monday. Same thing for Antigua and Barbuda. Montserrat, 70 tomorrow, 60 Sunday, 50 Monday, 60 tomorrow in Guadeloupe, 50 Sunday, Monday, and then rain chances will tail a little bit farther south that you go. Still 50% chance tomorrow in Martinique. Same thing for St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, then 40 on Sunday, Monday. Barbados could still see some pockets of heavy rainfall and some swells tomorrow, 40 Sunday, 30 on Monday. Grenada, about a 40% chance over the next several days. Trinidad and Tobago, 40 Saturday, Sunday, actually back up to a 50 on Monday. Scattered showers are likely in Suriname and Guyana, hoping for some decent rain chances in Nueva Esparta. And down in the ABC Islands, where Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao will have a 40% chance for rain over the next few afternoons. Again, boaters need to pay very close attention to the forecast, because there's going to be many wide areas of elevated seas. First of all, with our disturbance here north of the Greater Antilles, pushing a lot of wind into the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas and the northern sides of Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. And then obviously what this system is ultimately going to do, obviously it'll be building wave heights along that track. Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba and the Cayman Islands, and potentially the Caribbean coastline of the Yucatan and Central America, all impacted by that. And the flooding rains are going to be a big story as well. Again, you see the very heavy rainfall northern side of the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and then the European model, again, on the east side of the storm, which is why it's really important where it's tracking. You have a swath of rain well over 6 inches, maybe even upwards of 10, which again is 250 millimeters. And where that goes will ultimately determine who could see some of the heaviest rain. We'll see how this plays out for Central America and the Yucatan, but certainly some big time rain in these areas that I've just mentioned. This is what it looks like on the GFS model. Take a look at that. Let me just drop off these areas here. Again, you can clearly see how close we are to extremely heavy rainfall in Jamaica and Haiti and southeast Cuba with the track from the GFS. Regardless of track, this disturbance is so widespread that you have pockets of extremely heavy rain still possible here. Again, we might be teetering on, does this get back into Puerto Rico or not? You can see the eastern sides of the Dominican Republic will have some healthy rainfall totals. In the same situation for portions of the Turks, the Caicos, and the eastern sides of Cuba, right? Just a lot of water is going to fall. And then along this track and on the east side from the GFS, just look at all of that coming in. And again, Cuba could get hit pretty hard there. And we'll just have to see about the Cayman Islands. On the GFS track, we wouldn't have as much rain for places like Belize City, but still a couple of inches of rain possible there and in the Roatan areas as well. Okay, friends, obviously there's a lot to talk about. Keep you updated. You can follow us across all social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, it's mymeteomundo@gmail.com. While you're down in the comments section, you can ask a specific question. Thank you for liking and subscribing while you're down there as well. Appreciate you guys. I'm back here tomorrow with all the newest information. I think there'll be a lot of changes, a lot of things to kind of talk about and progress, especially with that area in the Caribbean. And I'll see you then, right here at Meteo Mundo.